All right. Hello and welcome to the Man of Legacy podcast. This is episode number 10. I'm your host, Coach Dennis, and we're here to talk about men, women, families, sex, masculinity, and life in general. And we're going to minimize talk about the coronavirus. We have enough other people doing that.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Today's guest is my fellow Good Guys to Great Men coach, Jeff Allen from Great Men Move Mountains. Welcome, Jeff.
Hey, Dennis, love to be here again. Thanks for having me on.
Always love when you're here. We always have a good time and good conversation. All right. So I've got to ask you a question. I want to know what's the most fun thing you've done lately?
The most fun thing, let's see, yesterday was a 2-person shower and it was with a girl. Yeah. And
Okay.
bonus, she's my fiance. So yes, that was the most fun thing. Otherwise, with clothes on,
With clothes on.
with clothes on, I've run at a local park here the past, I don't know, week and a half, most days, and done pull-ups and push-ups and stuff on big rocks and on the jungle gym equipment and all that. As of today, I'm no longer able to touch any jungle gym equipment. The city was actually fencing it off this morning at 9 o'clock.
Was that because
So,
of you by itself, or do you have
yeah,
an illness?
yeah, I do not. But otherwise, it has been fun to get out into nature and out in the fresh air and run every day, because basically that's one of my only choices. So that's been actually great.
Are you wearing shorts when you're working out in the mornings?
What are you thinking about me in shorts for, Dennis? What are you doing?
No, I'm recalling seeing you in shorts here at the beginning of the month.
Oh my God! Don't share anything else. They don't want to know. It was phenomenal, bud. So yeah, the weather here has been about 50, 55, and I wore shorts to run. And down in Phoenix, it was 85 the 2 days, the two main days that we were there, and I think 70 the third day back at the beginning of March. Man, it was gorgeous down there.
Was that not a great time?
Oh my gosh.
So I've got to ask you, we talked about helping men grow, which is obviously the purpose of the retreat, that they'd level up. And I know from my perspective, I saw some dramatic growth and leveling up with the men. How about you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to say, we're going to talk about stage 4, right, of the coaching journey today. So we'll
Mhm.
just take the next 60 seconds to talk about the retreat, just for you guys listening. That's not what this is about. Mainly, it's about what to do next in the next phase of your growth as a man in this work, the more advanced work. So I just want to touch base on that, Dennis. I appreciate the question. Yeah, the dramatic growth that the men had down there relates really very directly to our topic today of stage 4 of growth of our coaching journey and growth as a man, which is to go deep and to grow deep within yourself and understand deep about your relationship and the advanced skills and the advanced emotional control that you need to be that mountain lion man that you want to be ongoing, right, Dennis? So, I
Yeah.
mean, in your opinion of the metaphor of the training we did down there and the men's work that we did down there and the camaraderie, how did that hit you, the metaphor of all this work?
You know, when we moved with this idea, I thought there's some good parallels. I just was stunned at how, you know, we talked about situational awareness, and James, our instructor, talked about that, and how much we focused on, besides that awareness, safety, and how to handle situations, how to handle the gun. And the correlation was really far more than I would have realized. Uh, the parallels were there, and we saw growth both with the gun skills and in the guys. I mean, we saw there was a little bit of victim mentality when they first got there,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and there was none of that when they left. There was, they understood and accepted what their roles were. We even had one person understood it was his kingdom, and he was in charge of it.
Exactly.
So, and also we learned that not only are you incredibly fast on the draw, you're damn accurate. Holy cow, can you shoot?
Oh, well, thanks. I mean, it's fun. That's not something I'd done before, so of course it's cool to pick something up quickly. But yeah, as far as the growth with the men, I mean, specifically going from a place of not knowing what's going on, feeling in victim mode, feeling like it's a black cloud around you, or you don't know which way to even step. You're lost in the forest and not even sure which way to go right now. Sitting down and doing nothing is not going to help out, but you'd really love for a light in the sky or a guide out of the dark forest here. And that's what happened with the men there over the weekend. And not to play it up more than it was, but it was an amazing connecting time. Guys knew exactly who they were when they went home, how to stand up for themselves in a calm way, no matter their situation, no matter whether they're still married or separated or in limbo or dating. One of the guys is full on dating now, and he has had 3 dates in the last 2 weeks
Yeah.
as of the retreat. Right. So it's really amazing shift that we see in these men. And that's why I'm so proud of our 4 stages of coaching, Dennis. It's never the same for every man. It's never specifically the same, but these general phases will always happen. Absolutely.
Well, and as we talk about stage 4, and we talk about somebody who's had the 3 dates in the 2 weeks, it is that evolution to I am the prize, and that being a mountain lion. And it isn't like he is working hard to attract women or chase women. They are attracted to somebody who's in stage 4. And that's what we're going to talk about today, going deep and gathering yourself, solidifying we talk about relationships version 2.0, but also you 2.0, so that you can get that passion, connection in the relationship you want, regardless of who it's with. Maybe it'll be with your current wife, maybe it'll be with somebody new.
Yeah, exactly. And Dennis, I love how you have said many times that there's 3 outcomes when you do one-on-one coaching, or when you really dive into this world and you swim no matter the tide. And then, you keep putting one hand in front of the other one and keep your head above water and keep breathing and moving forward. There's one of 3 things that are going to happen through this work. Is that maybe it's version 2.0 of the relationship, something completely different and new, because that's what you would want to move forward. You wouldn't want the old zombie of the relationship like it was before.
Mm-hmm.
Or you don't get back together with her. You're an amazing man. You don't get back together with her, and you find a different woman who you can have a phenomenal life with or relationship with if you choose. Or you start version 2.0 of dating again with your wife, and you decide that you don't want to be with her at that point because you feel like you've grown, or maybe this isn't the relationship that you want, or some things have been uncovered that you were completely oblivious to before. The curtain was pulled back and you learned more about yourself and her and the relationship. And now maybe you're choosing not to be with her. I said that to a man this last week, and he been married for 25 years. Sex has been off the table for a long time, aside from just a handful over the past year, right? Maybe 2 or 3 times. And I said this to him this last week, and he said, I've never thought about that. I always wanted her to come back to me and for us to have what we had when we first were together. But I never considered that even if she did that I still may not be happy, because I really don't know what I want. I haven't had what I've wanted for so long. Been the provider for my family and just played that role. And maybe I don't know what I want. So even thinking about that is outside the box for me right now, Jeff. And that was a
Rare
really cool moment.
do the guys think about that third option where she no longer meets their standards, or it doesn't work anymore because they've grown and learned about themselves, and they realize they wouldn't accept that from any other woman. And same rules would apply to her. And when we first talked to them, that's how many of them have even considered that. It's very few. Usually I just want to save my marriage and not get divorced. And they haven't.
That's where I found this work. I don't know about you,
but it started me on the path. I believe the quote, and it wasn't said quite as calmly as I'm saying now, was "Tell me what I need to do to fix it." It was probably said in a pathetic, whiny voice, and we're not going to try to imitate that now.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I made all the mistakes 5-6 years ago. That's why we found this work. Even though we had been professionals in our field and financially successful in life, still didn't know these, let's say, rules or truths about modern relationship that we've uncovered for ourselves, and now we help other men uncover. And I'm so proud to do that with these guys. And that's what this fourth stage of coaching is to uncover all those things behind the curtain, put everything on the table. And how do you move toward that life that you want? You've stopped making mistakes in phase 1. You've grown yourself, and you've grown a healthy space with her in stage 2. You've asked for what you want from her and from yourself in stage 3 of ask. And now it's, how do I take the next step into the next 10 chapters into my life?
Which you get to write the book moving forward.
Exactly.
Because it is your book, your journey. And so Jeff, what are some of the things that we typically see at this stage, at stage 4?
Well, that's a good question. You had asked me that prior to our call, so I thought of 2 particular clients actually that I'm working with right now. One is he's back together with his wife. They were separated and on the road to divorce because of an affair. And I won't give any more details than that, but they're back, for this particular couple, obviously, but they're back together and literally better than ever. Sex is amazing. They're both kind of 180 in each other's eyes. It's version 2.0 all the way of a new relationship with the 2 of them. And with him, what I see is what he actually named Slimer. So one exercise that I have guys do is to picture a boardroom with a circle table, and sitting at the chairs of this boardroom are different persona that you have or different emotions that you have. I think I probably mentioned this before. And so one of his persona at this table, when he goes in and hears what the persona or the different feelings within him want to say, just so he can hear them and validate them, happy, sad, mad, glad, or mountain lion, or scared little boy. He's got at that table Slimer. And Slimer reminds him of the affair partner. Slimer reminds him of, other person's body parts have touched my wife's body parts, right? To say it mildly. And so Slimer reminds him of these things. And our work right now in this advanced stage has been, how do I recognize that Slimer is always going to be at the table? Okay? It's not about trying to banish him or make him tiny or shut him up forever, because he'll just get louder and louder. Whatever you send down into the basement goes down there and lifts weights and comes back stronger the next time. So it's about integrating Slimer and basically befriending your enemy, so to speak. And what can you thank Slimer for? What has evolved in your life because of that? Or are you now no longer naive to think that the world is just a completely safe Disneyland kid glove place? Because I've been there. Like, how could this happen to me? Right? No, this isn't supposed to happen to me. Well, life isn't fair. Shit happens. There's despair in the world. There's hard things in the world for everyone. So whether that happens to you, whether you're 2 or 20 or 80 years old, Slimer is going to show up one day or another. So that's one thing that I see with guys. Whatever Slimer is for you.
And we all have our Slimer, don't we?
Yeah.
It's funny. You mentioned that it's better than ever. The sex is amazing. And I was listening to The State of Affairs by Esther Perel yesterday. And she was talking about that. If they can work, because a fair number of relationships can survive infidelity. And if you analyze what caused it and accept ownership instead of just blaming the other one, you can grow and evolve the relationship. And
I agree. Yeah. I was just going to say, the crazy shit is, if you would have told anyone that, on your wedding day, probably would have punched him in the face or called him crazy or like, no way.
Yeah.
And then, well, now you have 10 years and 3 kids or whatever the situation. It's not so black and white anymore. And that's really confusing and scary.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's awesome to know that it can lead to something deeper and greater and more wise and more connected.
And it brings out conversation that you just maybe were afraid to have or didn't realize you could have. And again, it's one of the 3 options you have. That version 2.0, even though it may have been painful to get there, can be amazing once you are there.
Yeah, if that's for you, right? We have guys in every different situation. I totally agree. Yeah, good. So yeah, the second client I had thought of was one where has been in limbo for over a year. It's basically to the point where she's not responding. Has decided to file papers, divorce paperwork. She won't give an answer, basically, and one way or the other, definitively during this entire process at all, and basically stonewalling him. And he is doing phenomenally well. Here's a quote from him the other day, which was, in 2019, I tripled my income, doubled my real estate cash flow, and lost 33 pounds. I think he said 30 pounds or 33 pounds. That
Nice.
was his 2019 while separated. And he said, it's funny, I've been really productive while separated. And, he's like, I'm not blaming her, but what the hell? I'm a totally different man. Through this work, through this evolution of who I want to be and going after what I want, he's mountain biking again. And now, as of the past couple of months, he's like, Jeff, she was so hot. She was hotter than her picture. That never happens. Like, what's wrong? And that was our last call about how hot she was and so his problem is dating and the feelings of, okay, I know I don't want to put a woman on a pedestal. So how do I look at the stages of relationship, from dating, first date, second date, right? How do I walk through open doors, like Dr. Robert Glover would say in Dating Essentials for Men, his new book. So that's what he's working on. So we see okay, now I have all this attention from amazing women around me. They're attractive and they're insecure because, I thought hot women were always super confident. And now that I'm confident and understand my insecurities, I can see it like a flashing light in other people. So it's amazing the different level of awareness and self-confidence and, I guess I'll say surprise at the amount of women that really are out there. It's not like one shot and you're done, Dennis. And I want you to speak about that, right? Did you think prior to divorce that you would never be with another woman again? And, oh my God, who's going to want me?
Oh my God, my life was over. And I just, uh, to say I was like the deer in the headlights was an understatement. Um, and I look back and I go, wow, for a smart guy, I was pretty stupid. But as we're talking about dating, it made me think of a comment somebody I was working with beginning of last year said. He actually turned down an invite to go back up for a glass of wine for a nightcap because he said, well, I knew what that would lead to. And he said, I didn't want to stop learning about her. And he goes, once you start having sex, you stop the growth and the learning. And there's a stage 4 thought. Yeah, because exactly. The insecure guy after a divorce, and I'm not going to point a finger at myself, chases women and is looking to get laid, plain and simple, because he's looking for that validation. Where a guy who is a stage 4, well-grounded man who's growing doesn't chase that just to chase that. He doesn't need that. And he wants to make sure, that he knows the person. And it's like night and day. It truly is, and I could look back for me at the end of both significant relationships. One I chased like a little boy. And the other, I actually took some time off just to spend with myself because I didn't need that. And I knew better at that point. And what a difference 20 years make or 15 years, whatever it was.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And knowing to connect with other men and to connect with community is that wise bit within ourselves that feels like it's woken up. At least for me, it has.
Yes. It is one of the negatives out of the whole coronavirus issue right now is I have 2 trips to spend weekends with some great men that I know are probably going to be canceled because both involve attending, one's a concert and one's a baseball game, and I know neither are going to happen.
Yeah.
So that I was bummed about, yes, the concert and the ball game not happening, but I was more bummed that I wasn't going to get to spend the time with these men.
Well, and that leads into a huge piece of this phase that we want to talk about, which is nuts, right? And one of your nuts, your non-negotiable, unalterable terms, as Wayne Levine would say in his book, Hold On to Your Nuts, is that you do shit with men, right? Like go to
Yes.
ball games and go do fun stuff and get out in nature, get outside, go around competition, go have fun.
And if you don't, and to 100% almost, the men we work with have gotten away from that before
Yep.
the relationship problems happened. You know,
Yep.
I know one of the questions I always ask is, how often do you do stuff with your friends?
Yep.
And usually the answer is not very often. It's been months. They've stopped spending time with men because they've made their wife their sole focus for both their validation and determining if they're happy. And you know, that's one of the things we always bring them back to is you've got to spend time with other men. And a lot of them will even say, you know, I've got a handful of men, and then I have these other friends that are sports and weather friends. You know, that's all they can really
Right.
talk
Right.
about. They can't go deep. And
Yeah.
we saw this, we see this at all the retreats. The depth of the conversation between the men would blow away people who don't realize how normal that is.
Yeah. And something that I'm really proud of that some guys aren't so sure about when we first get to the retreats is that we don't drink until, what did we say, after dinner,
Yeah.
right? We don't drink beers throughout the day. We're not getting sloshed in the morning or whatever. We're not stumbling around. It's not like a bash women, get drunk party at all. It's the opposite. We have real discussions with dudes who want to have these, who are dying to have these, who are thirsty in the desert of for connection and relationship, just to have, number one, their story heard, and number two, ask, what the hell's going on there? Help me understand this. And what do I, number three, I guess, would be, what do I do about it? What do I do about this? What do I do when I get home? What do I do tomorrow? What do I do today? Shit, right now. She's texting me right now. What do I say? We had all those questions come up. We fielded every single one of those questions. Guys left smiling. It was such a phenomenal time.
And
Absolutely.
a couple of them could have bashed women, and that's the funny part is when you get men that are on this journey as they get further along, there is no bashing of women. You
Yeah.
know, they as our friend Sven would say, they hold them in high regard,
I love
even
how
when
different
they
that
may do things that are painful to us.
Exactly. I was just saying, I love how different our community is around that than some others that are out there, in the red pill or the,
Yeah.
what is it, MGTOW and all that. I
Yep.
mean, ours about our world is about bringing people together and the love and connection and community and family that we want to foster in the world. Is every couple going to stay together? Of course not. And
No.
everyone knows that, and they shouldn't, but we're here to give the man the best chance of that happening and promise him that he's going to have more confidence, more grounding, know who he is, know his values, know his nuts like the back of his hand, and be able to stand up for them when he needs to. Like around tough conversations that you'll have with her about kids or money or separation. And like you said, like you've said, Dennis, responding instead of just reacting, right?
Yes. When we're boys and or little children, we react. It's, you know, it's how we get attention. It's how we get things that we want because we don't know and have any other skills. And fortunately, the men we work with figure out real quickly, not only is that a bad thing to do, the partner causing you the most pain knows just which buttons to push to get a reaction.
Yeah.
And once you start learning to not react, it's kind of interesting. It's fun because one, it creates a different kind of tension in the house. And because you're not adding energy to a negative emotional experience, or when she's having, she's storming or got something going on. You know, it's one of the things we teach guys. You don't add energy to the negative. And being that calm mountain lion keeps things from getting worse. And I warn them, sometimes it'll piss them off until they realize this is how you're going to be moving forward, just because they don't like that they can't predict your behavior anymore.
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to say that makes me think of the different energy in the house. So instead of a storm, instead of a fight, the energy is more like a pregnant kind of energy, or instead of a tennis match hitting back and forth, one person's just hitting tennis balls over to the other side and you're not hitting them back. Meaning pregnant energy, meaning all the tennis balls are just falling to your feet on your side of the net, and she's waiting for the response, waiting for the reaction, I should say, the normal reaction of just hitting it right back, and you're not doing that. So it feels a little more pregnant in the house in that way, in that energetic way. And I'd say that's a solid sign that you've stopped making mistakes, like in phase one, and you're moving into stage two of this work, is when the energy's less about arguing and more this tentative, if you will, pregnant, like she's waiting for a comeback, and she's looking at you, waiting for you to do that thing again, or be the Hulk like I would do and kind of throw a tantrum and get mad about stuff. That was my, shitty responses, shitty reacting in the past that I'm not proud of, was the, immature Hulk would come out. So when I started to change, she would look for that and it wasn't there. And so it was this pregnant pause. So that's the difference in energy that I feel when men start living by their values and not just reacting.
Well, and I've got a guy I'm working with that I talked to this week, and this goes along the same line of energy. We've really talked to the guys. You're responsible for the energy in your household and the tone, the vibe, especially now as a lot of places are on uh, lockdown, so to speak. You've got to be, you're not working, you're at the house. So now you're at the house with a woman you're having relationship issues with and the kids.
And the
And
kids, right? Yeah.
there's no issues there.
Right.
And I have a man who, we talked about that. He understood that. And I asked him, what's the vibe like in the house? And he says, we have no stress. He's the only one I've had, but he's like, there's laughter. We're having, and they're having issues. Don't get me wrong. But he is showing up just like we teach these guys, and he is taking the lead. And it has just been phenomenal to hear a guy say, there's no stress in my house. And I was like, wow.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing.
Only one, because I've been asking that question of everyone I talked to this last week or so, and he's the only one. And I think it's just amazing. Uh,
And it
and I
must be
told him,
quick. I mean, and that must have been a pretty quick jump from constant arguing and animosity in the house to laughter like that.
yes. And that's the other thing we see is the guys can make the change quick. And he's had a few, he starts getting those little insecure thoughts sometimes, but he's not, he knows, don't do it, just let it go. And guys can make this change fairly quickly sometimes, and he's seeing the dividends right away.
Yeah,
And
yeah, exactly. I totally agree with you. There's a lot of this is just skills that we didn't learn from someone that we could model after and such. And that's what this was for me, and that's what this is. And I'm not here to preach that I'm perfect. It's actually the opposite. Is I've made mistakes. I continue to be human, thank God, right? And
yeah,
and so how do we lead each other? And that's what I love about this work. Totally.
oh, I would have, if you'd have asked me a couple of years ago, what's the most satisfying thing you do in the world, I'd have said it's balloons, because I bring happiness. And that isn't the answer now. It's coaching the men and helping them go down the right path and get off and out of that forest of, I call it shit, shame, and pain, because that's where they are when we typically run into them. And to be able to help them to see and to grow like that, there's nothing better.
Yeah. Well, and just like business, this takes vision for the future and resolve, emotional resolve within yourself, and persistence. Like you and I both have had a side business. We both have had two entrepreneurial businesses. I love how the balloon one is your side one, and my temporary airbrush tattoos was my side one while I was a teacher. Side one in the summertime, which is when we both made that over $100 an hour many times doing this
Yes.
side fun thing for kids, right? So I love I love that you and I both have successful businesses, and then we came to men's coaching. You know, it's not like we started here. It's kind of this amazing thing that we can give back to the world.
Yeah, we both started the hard way.
Yeah, exactly.
With a lot of pain.
Right. Well, that's where a lot of guys find us too, so we can really relate.
Yes.
So
Which,
I was going to say, speaking of ongoing journey, I want to bring up that we've already posted next year's March 2021 retreat. We've worked out the kinks. I'm so pumped, and we're looking at the same house or better. That one may not be available next year. We'll see, but we're going to find that one or better. And yeah, Dennis, tell us about 30 seconds about what's going to happen next year.
the kinks were minor. We fine-tuned some things. We're going to limit the number of guys. Even if we had 20 guys say they want in, not a chance, because of those conversations we talked about earlier and the quality of them. There's an intimacy to it. And so you can't have 24 people, 20 people at a retreat and have that. So we're going to limit that because it is better for the men. We are going to make it as amazing and even better than this year's. The facility was great. We listened to the feedback from the guys. The one interesting comment that was made, I was talking with one, and he said, you know, we never did watch any TV. And he goes, I didn't even miss it, didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
So I thought that was very telling in today's society, where too many people watch too much TV. We had conversations that went long into the night and were deeper than most people have. You know, that you've got those sports and weather friends. You could never have those conversations with them. There's that small handful that get it.
Yeah, I'll give you an example of one that I had with Sven when we were there. But real quick, on top of that, we shot pool and we played poker, and there's a Pac-Man machine and sat outside. I mean, we went on hikes in the sunrise, and some other guys went for hikes later in the day. I mean, we did so many amazing things. Shot firearms at the range for 3 different days, advanced pistol
Hundreds and
training.
hundreds of rounds. I do think
Yeah.
we should have a poker game every time.
Yeah, it was awesome. So we did a bunch of fun shit too on top of talking into the night. And so let me give you one example. I talked with Sven about how, and he's been open about this, so he'd be fine me saying this, that he was raised in a religious household. And I was not really raised in a religious household at all. We were basically secular or agnostic. And our discussion was how you come upon values in your life, how you come upon the meaning of life, let's say, or how do you see that a human being has value in and of themselves, just being in existence and being alive here on the planet. And the difference in the way we came to those values based off of either being raised in a very religious situation or me completely not was a tremendous, over an hour-long conversation that was just an awesome nightcap on the day, right? And a lot of the guys that I work with are feeling a bit starved as well for a spiritual type conversation. And no one would ever shove any particular religion down anyone's throat or anything like that at all, ever. But I do believe an existential or spiritual type of belief or conversation of just, what do you believe your value is in the world as a man? So if I just said, what do you believe as a man, has to do with your values. Why are you here? What are you trying to do? And like you, of course, live by, Dennis, what legacy do you want to leave?
Yeah, and that's normal to have those kind of conversations at these retreats.
Exactly.
And that's what we're going to bring. I've already had a couple people reach out and say they want in for next year already.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly.
So I'm pretty pumped.
Hell yeah, absolutely, dude. So March 4th through the 7th, 2021. Connect with us right away. I mean, it's going to sell out. We have no doubts about that.
Yeah, that's a given. All right. Hey, I appreciate your time today, Jeff. You have an amazing week and stay safe.
Dennis, love you, bud. Thank you very much.
All righty. Bye.